Hello and welcome to what is going to be a very special hybrid between a game, a role-playing game, and an episode of Escape Velocity. Just to give you a little bit of an introduction to it, this is a commercially available board game called Untold Adventures Await. I can't see any cameras. I don't know if we have any cameras working. It's going to be quite tricky without the cameras. I'll just hold this up then for a moment. So this is Untold Adventures Await. This is a storytelling system which uses Rory's story cubes. Now, has anyone in the room heard of Rory's story cubes? Okay, brilliant. So this is... oh, there we go. Marvellous. Not sure which one is that. That's that one over there. Okay, so Rory's story cubes are these little dice that have symbols on. Previously, I've bought these dice just because they're great for kind of storytelling ideas. What this game actually does is creates a sort of mix of role-playing and storytelling. So it gives you the tools that you have with a role-playing game, but it gives you the structure that you have in storytelling. And it works really well, and you're going to see how it works as we go through it. And I thought it would be really fun to do it as an episode of Escape Velocity. Because the game is very much designed to create episodes of a series, and the game takes about, once people know how to play it, and we're all set up, it takes about 45 minutes to play, typically an episode. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this will work quite well. Each of the players, including myself, this is a GM-less role-playing game, will be effectively a character in the story, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. So get ready for this very special episode of Escape Velocity. Thank you, Grant. I feel like I should do a voiceover at this point. Written and directed by Christopher Jarvis. That moment of horror where you realise this is the longer version. Welcome. Yeah. Okay, what we're going to do first is... the story is made up of 5 sections. It starts with a dangerous dilemma, moves on to the plot thickens, moves on to an heroic undertaking, which I'm never totally sure is right, the truth revealed, and the final showdown. I actually don't know what's under these cards. So that'll be interesting. And I haven't done any prep for this episode at all. So this is the best way to go into it. Now, the way Untold works is it's very much, for your guys' benefit, it's very much a collaborative storytelling effort. So this isn't my story that I'm looking for you guys to kind of go along with. This is about everybody creating a story together that they are all equally invested in and kind of interested in. Obviously, I've kind of jumped the shark a little bit by... We've obviously established that it is an episode of Escape Velocity, so that's set a lot of it. But normally when you play with this game with people, you sit down with a completely blank agenda and you agree on a story setting and a world and a tone which everybody can contribute to. And the way this sort of ends up manifesting is that when I've played this game at home with friends, it's all a bit of a laugh and not taken very seriously. And we ended up creating a series. We established it wanted to be present day. Then we established it wanted to be underwater and about fish, and they wanted a crime procedural drama. And thankfully, one of the players was sharp enough to come up with the name CSI, which I thought was amazing. So we created this series about underwater fish, sort of investigating crimes, and it worked really well. And then I played this game with strangers at my board game shop. And I'd not really understood that Rory, who created the Story Cubes, has a background in kind of some sort of therapy or personal coaching or something. So there's a certain number of rules that you can see are very much related to making everybody feel kind of included and that sort of thing. And those rules have never come up with friends, but when I played it with strangers, I think we used all of them. And it's basically about keeping people engaged, and everyone has to agree on the tone. And when I played this with strangers, there was a girl around the table, and she said, "Oh, it'd be nice to have a kind of light, fun adventure." And there was this German guy sitting there with his kind of metal jacket on, and he was like, "I want tense survival horror." It's like, okay, well, we will somehow mesh tense survival horror with light, fun adventure. So that was the thing. So what's basically going to happen is we're going to roll some dice. The dice are going to give us clues as to what the story would be about, but I would say that the best thing to do in this game is not take the images too literally. They're very much representative of what's happening. First thing we're just going to do is just go through, sorry, this is a bit of writing for me, not you, I do apologise. We're just going to set up, I'll go through the setup so you can hear how it would work with something else. So first of all, series name, we can put that down. That's escape, velocity, I know that one. That one's easy. Season, I'll put S, it's a special season. It's a season of special unbound adventures. Episode title, I always come up with those at the end because you can't name your episode until you know what it's about. Episode, yeah, X, who knows? Who knows what's going on? So when does this episode take place? We know this. Does anybody else know this? When does escape velocity take place? Yeah, absolutely. Actually, no, but this is a really interesting, valid point in terms of where we want to set it in Elite Dangerous lore. So escape velocity as it currently stands is set in roughly 3245-ish, or we can bring it bang up to date with present-day Elite. I'm happy either way. It might impact on what characters you are. If you want to play classic escape velocity characters, I recommend 3245. No spoilers for Series 4. Yeah. So I don't know, what do we feel? Do you want to do...
Well, what does the audience
Do you want to stick historical? Do you want to go present? Okay, present is okay. So we're looking at, what are we, roughly, we're 33.0, what are we up to? 33.3, 33.04? 33.04. Okay, 33.04. Where does this episode take place? This is an interesting question. So in all the galactic map, where would you like this particular, broadly, not like a specific person's hairdressing salon, roughly where in the game world should this take place?
No.
I couldn't hear that. Sorry, I went temporarily deaf.
Maya?
Maya, okay. Maya's a good suggestion. Yeah, Maya,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm happy with that.
Do we want this to be... it's probably spelled like that, isn't it? Do we want this to be... Is this an adventure taking place on a ship, in space, on a planet, in a station? Just a rough location. What do we reckon?
Fairly rough industrial moon.
Ooh, nice. Okay, rough industrial moon. Is everybody on board with that? Okay. What do we know about this setting? Well, I'm just going to write Elite. Normally when you play this game and you don't already have an entire universe already created for you to cheat from, you have to come up with the rules for the world. So is this, if you say it's present day, is there magic? Do people have powers? Or is this very much, regular thing? If somebody says they want to do a fantasy game, well, is this high fantasy? Is it low fantasy? It's all these kind of rules. So at this point, you would set up the rules for the world. What sort of thing is allowed and what is not allowed? Tone of this episode, I'm just going to write escape velocity. Whatever that tone indicates. Setting synopsis. Okay. This is a little bit of creation. So just before we go into this bit, this is basically, we're going to create like a one-line thing as to what our episode is about. We're not going to create characters just yet. I'm probably almost certainly just going to be Thane, but we're not going to create characters. But we do just need to say this is roughly what our story is about. Now, I'm just going to explain the system before we do, just so that you can get a feel for it. So you have in front of you, I'm going to move this to in front of my special downward camera, or I'm going to use my roving camera. Ooh, I'm going to use my roving camera. Okay, okay. Right, so each player has a board like this. Now, the left-hand side of the board, the game is entirely icon-driven. There's no text on the game boards. So as you can see, each of those icons represents a different thing within the story, whether it's a location, an action, a person, that sort of thing. On the right-hand side is the player's control board. We basically have a number of very simple tokens, which are really... They don't actually necessarily contribute anything to the story, but they allow the players a certain level of control within the experience. So the 2 plus icons. So I will just explain. There is a standard convention in this game that if it is you that is posing a question or you that is taking an action, it is you that comes up with your own answer to that. Okay. So this isn't a game about jumping in on somebody else's thing and saying, I think you should do it like this. There's kind of no alpha gaming in this. But what you do have is you have 2 little plus idea tokens. And what you can do is, while somebody is giving their interpretation to that answer or that action, you can play a token and say, I think it'd be really great if we added to this particular idea. And actually, funnily enough, the person doing it can either say yes or no. You don't have to take on board other people's ideas, but that's there. The other one that looks like a kind of rewind button is a flashback token. Now, at any point in the game, you only get one of these each, so it doesn't get too much like Lost. But that's basically the Lost button. So at any point in the story, if you have a moment of inspiration where you think, I can think of a really good little flashback that relates to what's going on at this moment, you play your flashback token and you explain what happens in the flashback. And that's how it works. So it is basically like Lost. Okay, from that point of view. And then this one is a dice cheat. The last one is a little dice cheat. If you roll the dice and you don't get a picture that you want and you know that picture is on the die, you can just change it. You can play that token and just flip the dice to whatever you want it to be. The dice very much work for us, not the other way around. And then the last big thing, this is your play pause button. This is, hopefully this won't come up today, but it can do. Basically, if at any point in the game you are feeling like you are not involved, or someone's running away with it, or the story's going in a direction...
Or your glass is empty.
Or your glass is empty. Or you feel, dare I say, triggered. You can flip to pause. And if anybody plays their kind of flips to pause, then we stop figuring out the story and we just figure out what's going wrong and what we can do to make the game. I don't think this will be a problem today, but if you're playing it with people, particularly strangers, this did come up. It's just about getting the game back on track and making sure everyone's still having a good time, which not all role-playing games feature, I find. Okay, so that's the player board, and then over here we have the main board. Oh dear. Okay, yeah, thank you. They've gone back to that reference. Yeah, basically we've got the 5 acts, and on each act there is a series of tokens. These represent questions we can ask about the scene. So the purple ones are questions, the green ones are actions. The scene does not finish until the action pile has been depleted. We don't have to ask all of the questions. It's fine. Whenever you go to take an action, you just say that your character is going to try and achieve something by doing a certain thing. Flip an outcome card. There you go. That is yes, you succeed, but it's not all good. So I'll shuffle that. Yeah, and then there's a deck of emotions as well that basically just have emojis on. Okay, so that's the explanation. Sorry, I feel like I've dumped an awful lot of information on all of you. So setting. So what do we think? So we've got essentially an escape velocity episode. We've got a rough industrial moon in Maya. The tone is generally escape velocity. What roughly is the episode going to be about? What sort of thing would we find interesting? We can, at this point, roll the dice and see if it gives any inspiration.
Yeah.
I had an idea. I'm not sure if I should jump in here or wait for the dice.
Yeah. Have a look and see if anything inspires you.
Oh, right. Hang on. I've got a communications disc there, which looks quite interesting, and a snake. Not sure that would be doing on a moon. And
you'd have to use all of them. The game does just interpret up to 3. I'll just pass these down, so people can take a look. Now,
can I say what I think? Or
yeah. You start. Can we just explain this around? I'm actually using a hybrid set of dice. There's a whole load of different Rory Story cubes. I am using a set that is primarily from a bundle called Adventures. I've also inserted 3 dice. That sounds wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
I have included in the set 3 dice, which are part of a 3 dice set called Intergalactic. So it's got some very specific sci-fi symbols, and I've actually seemed to have dropped one in there from the fairy tale set.
Yes.
So who knows? So Kevin, go ahead and explain.
Yes, I'm not sure where the magic beans come in, but
yeah. This is a very, very simple, high-level synopsis.
What do we do? Just come up with...
Just say roughly what you think you're inspired by.
I had an idea about the moon's exporting something, I don't know, bauxite, and the current bauxite reserves are really poor quality and they're running short of money. So
okay.
That's just...
Does that sound like an interesting starting point?
Sorry, I didn't hear that very well.
So the moon's exporting bauxite minerals, and the quality of the minerals has been dropping off.
They're running out of money.
Running out of money. So it's a sort of
Is this
colony
a-
in desperate
Is
times.
this sort of financial? I wonder if that captures the sort of mystery and excitement in escape velocity. There could be.
Are you having a Star Wars
reasons for
Episode
that.
1 moment?
I'm just looking for tension and intrigue and possible disaster.
I saw there was like a biological thing on there. I wonder if maybe some sort of plague has broken out on this moon.
Also, a communications disk. I wonder if worms or some plague had affected the dish and cut them off.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Okay, yeah, interesting. So you think maybe like some sort of SOS?
Or sending an SOS when it's not needed. I don't know. If,
I mean, it could be that there's some sort of health problem and the corporation's trying to quell any sort of alarm, and yeah, it's a bit suspicious. So some sort of antagonism from a corporation running this industrial moon, people unhappy, wondering why are they hiding this?
Yeah, okay. Oh, I'm going to write all these things down. So I've got exporting moon, low money, contagion, corporations. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. Okay, right. Let's get started. So first thing to do, I'm going to re-roll these because I'm going to flip this over. Okay. So what this card contains, I don't know if we can see that. Can you see that very well? I might go in with the zoom. I'm going to go in with the zoom up camera. Right. There we go. Okay, so what that indicates, if I just look at my little crib sheet, the top one, the blue one, is a location. So we're going to lock down a location, and underneath that, the lightning bolt is a threat, and that particular threat is attacking someone or something. That's what that sword means. It's attacking, and then there's a person or object icon. So that's that. So what we will do is roll the bones. So what this is going to do, we've kind of established what our location is, that it's an industrial moon on Maya, or near Maya. Oh no, I've upset the... Oh no, oh dear. Okay. So what we're doing is we're looking for one of these icons to give us a bit of inspiration about a specific location, so somewhere on that moon where this particular drama is going to kick off. So I don't know if people want to... I don't know if it's easier for you to look at the screen to see the dice rather than me passing them down. I'm going to use the close-up cam again.
Go and just describe what's on there.
So we have a symbol we have the communications dish. We have something that looks like seas or oceans, or possibly a band saw, depending on how you're feeling. There is a skull and crossbones symbol, which could indicate a number of things: poison, danger, pirates. We have a sort of flask sample. We have a swirly thing. We have some sort of strange cracking egg. We have a symbol which I'm not totally sure what it means. It's like a no person thing or something. It's like people are banned. I don't know. We have a map, and we have something that looks, depending on how you're feeling, either like some sort of sleep pod or possibly a teleport process. Probably not a teleport process for Elite. No. Oh, I'm drifting. So there we go. So I don't know if any of those scream a location to you.
Somewhere investigating the plague, an isolation ward, perhaps.
Or a research lab.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're thinking flask. Flask. Okay, so what we do is everybody happy with that? Some sort of research?
Maybe with the no person thing, like a forbidden facility, like this is a restricted area.
Okay. Yep. So let's lock that in. Okay, and then we need a threat. So one of these dice indicates some sort of threat. Can be a person, can be a thing.
You've got the cracking egg there. That's sort of suggesting Thargoids to me. I'm not sure if they're egg-based, but is there a Thargoid threat?
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to lock in. Okay, so what we've basically got there, having set that up, I'm going to put this camera down. So this is an excellent time for our scribe to come in. Sorry, scribe, what's your name? Brian, thank you very much, Brian. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to... you're going to actually see me sneak to the rule book here because I can't totally remember how this is phrased. But for scene one, we come up with a thing that describes it, and it is basically... Okay, yep, that's fine. What we basically need to write down is that what we're saying is, in a restricted research science lab, some form of strange egg is attacking something or someone. We don't have to say what that something or someone is yet. So there is a threat. There is a threat from an egg in the science lab. Have you got that? Awesome. Okay, it's character creation time. Woo! So what you can do, I'm obviously just gonna roll a Thane because that just makes it easier. But if you guys want to share the dice, you will notice the dice pool has now decreased. What you want to create is you want to create a character.
Is it one each or one between us?
Yeah, it's a character each.
Right.
So each of you will be a character. A particular, we've come up with the name in your own time, but the thing to do is to roll the dice and to have a look at a bit of inspiration as to what role that person can be taking. Now, what the game suggests is choose up to 3 dice to kind of base your character on. Don't try and use all of them because it's just really complicated. Basically, you need to come up with a job/role and come up with what compels you. It says here what compels you to go on adventures, but it's basically your character's motivation.
Okay, if you would pass that.
Yep.
I'm using
Have you decided?
Yeah, I'm going with the 3 dice that are in the centre there.
Okay.
Right,
So write down whenever you want to.
Do I roll again?
Yeah, you can re-roll if you want, or you can use what's there, or... As I say, the dice work for us, not the other way around. Ooh. That's a submarine.
What? Oh,
That's a submarine, but it can represent a ship, a form of transport, a sealed environment. But remember, this is about your character. Okay. Yeah? Chuck it down. Okay, so for me, I'm going to... I think it's obviously I'm Commander Thane. I'm going to write that down. Job role, independent pilot. I won't put terrorist or anything like that just now. Independent pilot. What compels Thane to go on adventures? Now that is a mystery. I'm really tempted always at this point to just write down, he just wants to be alone. Really, seriously. Yeah, I'll leave that blank. That's fine. So when you guys have sort of summarised your characters, if you're happy. I promise you it gets interesting in a minute. Okay, so having come up with what your character is and what radicalism, you're actually going to get 2 specials. Now, this is obviously has to be kind of restricted by, the world of Elite. You can't go crazy and say that you're a shape-shifting mutant or anything like that. You're basically going to have 2 abilities that is something that your character is really good at. Now, there's 3 categories: ability or power, helpful item or companion, area of expertise or knowledge. Okay? What you're going to do is you're going to pick 2 different special skills, and those have to be from 2 different categories. So you can't have 2 items, you can't have 2 areas of expertise. You can also, if you want, nose at the dice and see if they give you any inspiration about what your character might be good at. Don't worry if you think the thing you're thinking of might not come up. The game has a strange way of making these things happen. This shouldn't really be this hard for Thane. I've got piloting down, definitely as an area of expertise. I'm wondering if the ship counts as a helpful item. I'm going to put smooth talker. Okay. And don't worry about anything else written on the sheet, because some of that stuff is designed for creating a whole series. Basically, abilities and stuff come and go. So, okay, so we are basically ready. Right. So the way it's going to work is we're in scene 1. We know there's some sort of restricted lab. We don't necessarily all have to be there. We're just we're creating the conditions of the story. So there is this restricted lab. In the restricted lab, there is this egg or biological threat or something which is threatening something or somebody. Now, we have a stack of cubes, a stack of tokens. We basically have 4 questions that we can ask about the scene, and then 4 actions we can take to try and move the story forward. That kind of works out as 1 each. I'm going to go... I'll go first, just to demonstrate. and I'll answer the basic, most obvious question, which is, what is the nature? This is a bit you need to write down. What is the nature of the biological threat?
It's you that answers that question.
I answer it myself. Yes. Yeah. So we have got here. Interesting. Something that looks a bit like a sort of king space ghost. We have a communications array. Oh, we have a person in a pod. That's very escape velocity. We have some sort of dominatrix whip. I mean, I'd include it, but, you know. We have possibly magic beans or possibly cultures growing in a petri dish or something. We have cogs, some sort of machine. And we also have, like, a wizard's tower, because I put the fairy tale one in. Yeah, that's really interesting. The nature of the threat. I mean, I'm kind of drawn to something like... So if it was going to be like a machine threat, it could be like, because there's been some sort of biological incident, that the whole base is locked down and everyone's kind of trapped. That could be a thing.
And there could be security systems that are malfunctioning because of it and causing problems.
Yeah. Does that sound?
Yep.
Does that sound like something?
Sure, and communications blackout as well.
Yeah. Okay. So the answer to that question, what is the nature of the biological threat? The biological threat has caused the base to lock down and everyone to be trapped and have no communication. Awesome. So I've spent a token. I'll take it off. Whoop. Sorry, it's all very long way from all you guys. I will, take the tokens for you, just for the sake of the Twitch feed.
Okay, so do we?
You can. I mean, it's basically pretty freeform. There's no turn order. I mean, I've said that there's 4 questions and 4 players, so that seems like a fair distribution. It doesn't have to go that way. Does anybody have anything else at this point that they would really want to know about what's going on?
So how did the biological threat arrive in the base?
Nice. Yep, here.
So I'm going to go with I've got the stars and I've got the spaceman. My character is a pilot, so I'm the person who actually brought this thing into the base for investigation.
Okay.
Deliberately. Maybe didn't know its true nature.
We'll find out.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, brilliant. Did you get that? This is so we can refer back. It's also quite nice when you play these games to write down what happens, because then you've got kind of a log of your story and that sort of thing. So, okay, that's another token. 2 more questions. We don't have to ask all the questions, but it is quite useful.
My question is, how are the people on the moon base reacting?
Ooh, interesting.
Give the dice a shake. Hey, right, well, let's have a look. I have microbes, a snake, levers, some sort of petri dish, airlock maybe, and a star. So I think some people, looking at the airlock, some people have barricaded themselves in to certain parts of the base, and maybe those parts of the base contain things like power and water. Those people left in the lab are having to do without. There's a lot of tension there, and people are worried about. They're seeing all sorts of germs coming out of the walls. They're imagining terrible contamination. So order is breaking down in the base.
Could there even be like hallucinations? Going by something like the swirly symbol there?
Possibly. We could have hallucinations, and is that caused by the alien bugs or something else?
Interesting.
The plot thickens.
Okay.
Indeed.
So my question then would be, what is the people running this base, whatever corporation that runs it or agency, what are they doing?
Hey.
Oh.
It's a good question.
So there's a whip symbol, planet, a bag, an isolated tower, a poison symbol. Doesn't look good for us. And a teleporter. So I think the leaders are maybe trying to... Do you want to put that into the camera? Are maybe taking care of themselves and instructing security to lock things down and control things. So not much sympathy from those running the place.
Harsh. Okay. So that is pretty much all the questions we can ask about the scene. So we have... we can just sort of introduce the characters just so we know what's going on. So obviously I'm Commander Thane. I don't know if it... Does anybody here not know who Commander Thane is? Okay, it's fine. So yeah, it's a serious escape velocity. Commander Thane is a sort of jack-of-all-trades independent pilot who always seems to end up in places he doesn't really want to be, working on things he doesn't want to work on. And really, he just wants to be left alone to make money. Kevin?
My character, sorry. She's actually a very unusual explorer. She's desperate to look at places which no one has ever seen. So she's built herself what's effectively a submarine, which is then lowered into gas giants. And at a certain depth, the gas will behave like a liquid. She will pilot her submarine around this effective liquid and search for all sorts of mineral resources, gaseous resources, possibly life. She's got a great ability at orienting herself in 3D. She can even fight in 3D. And she's got the excellent submarine pilot, very unusual submarines. She can pilot those submarines in high-pressure environments. Very unusual skill, but maybe not that much use elsewhere.
Awesome.
I have Commander Ashley, who's another pilot. His family were captured by Thargoids. Their ship was attacked, and the Thargoids picked up all of the escape capsules.
Harsh.
So I am Marco Benetti. I'm a research scientist here on the moon. I've been here for 6 months. I completed my doctoral training 2 years ago. I'm very interested in scientific discoveries.
Excellent. Okay, so we've got, so with that motley crew of people, there are 4 actions. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, so basically what you want to do is you're going to take an action. You say, I am going to, you phrase it in a way of saying, I'm going to try and achieve something by doing this. So you could say, I don't know, I'm going to try and open the airlock door by banging my head against it. I wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, that's basically, so you phrase it and then you get a result as to whether or not that worked, and then you narrate your own outcome.
Okay, shall I go?
Go for it.
Nortina, my character, believes she's seen something like this life form before, the high pressure environments, the Jovians she explores. She believes that this particular species will be made dormant if she increases the pressure massively within the research lab, which is physically possible to do. So she sets about trying to get agreement to increase pressure in the lab. Okay.
So in this particular instance, increasing pressure in the lab, you succeed.
Yeah.
But Nautila successfully gets an agreement to pressurize the lab, but something has not quite gone all your way. Hang on, let's just flip an emotion card. Yeah, people are a bit worried about it, I think. So yes, so it's a yes, but what is the complication?
The life form reacts, starts growing more vigorously.
Oh dear. Okay, so we've accelerated the problem. That's lovely. Fine. Okay, let's just discard those.
My character's a complete pillock.
It's the sort of thing that happens.
So I have been secretly raiding the corporate files for a long time. And I want to secure the research files that I have been hacking away at. So I am going to hack into the corporate system whilst it's on alert and try and get the data on what has been happening in these labs.
Okay.
And my accent is strangely going all over this place.
You're very well travelled, very well travelled. Okay, and you... Oh, okay. You get like the best result. So not only do you do the thing that you were trying to do, something else also really good happens to you. Probably related to what you were doing, let's not be silly.
So as well as succeeding in the hacking, I gain access to the security systems. Oh.
I'd call that a cunning and devious face. I'm going to hold that under the camera. I think that's a cunning and devious face. Not sure we can trust Darren. Okay, yeah. So you've got access to
Security system.
Nice. Okay, that's going to help.
But meanwhile, Commander Ashley, riddled with guilt at having brought this plague, wants to get rid of it. So he attempts to break the window of the now pressurized isolation lab, unaware that the pressure has been increased.
Wowzers. Okay. So this is an outcome when you attempting to break the glass.
To break the yes, in order to
just clarifying what the success or failure here is. Okay, so you succeed in breaking the window, but I think I know what the but is going to be.
He then wakes up the next morning.
People not happy about that particular thing.
No, it succeeds. But at this point, all that happens is he's now blown against the wall, knocked unconscious, and all you've done now is given the creature more room to expand.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Commander Thane is going to try and okay, so Thane is going to try and he's a bit of a smooth talker. No, he's going to try and because obviously they're maybe making some sort of delivery or something. So Commander Thane is going to try and work out if he can get a route, at the very least for himself, but possibly for some other people as well, back to the docking bay where his ship is. So I'm going to try and schmooze someone to get information about an escape. This is the most boring one. I succeed. That's just I succeed. Yeah. So Commander Thane has now successfully located a possible means of egress to the space dock. Okay, and that was scene 1. There you go. So this is the plot thickens. This is, on this particular location, there is a dark agenda. And the dark agenda, you can see there's a little line on the board. You guys can't unless you look behind you. There's a little line on the board that links the dark agenda to the threat. So there is some sort of dark agenda related to the contagion. So let's have a look and see what that's going to be. Alrighty, we've got a sort of throttle control. We've got a person in a pod. We've got a snake. We've got a rocket. We've got C/bandsaw. We've got swirly heads, and we've got mushroom. I don't know if you want to have a look at that and see what they think.
Person in the pod reminds me of the corporate rulers who are trying to escape. So they've got some dark agenda with this material, this whatever it is. So perhaps, so if this was a foreign agent brought in, perhaps it's reacting to something specifically they've been doing.
Oh, interesting. So at this point, so if we use this symbol at this point, the person in the pod would come to represent the corporation or a corporate representative. Yep. Okay, is everyone happy with? Everyone good there? Okay, awesome. Lock that in there. Now, this particular scene's interesting. This is purely a scene which is designed to complicate the story. So there is only questions at this point. There are no actions in the scene. So we're just finding out more about this particular dark agenda. I think there's 3 questions we can ask. I'll leave you guys to it then if you...
I'm unconscious. I can't do anything.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. That's very diplomatic. Okay.
Is the agent happy with current events? Does he want to stop our characters from affecting germination, whatever's happening?
Okay, interesting. Go for it. I mean, you don't have to use the dice to answer it, but it does help add a little random element.
Have a spaceman, swirly galaxy, some bugs, space gun, the King Ghost, and some cogwheels.
Yeah, I mean, this can be a kind of ruler or / figure of authority.
I'll try and bring in the King Ghost here. I'm not sure. Yes, I think he is. He's he believes that they're in charge and that our pathetic plans won't have any effect. So he's quite happy for us to die as long as there's a food source or whatever is the contagion there is spreading and can be later on.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to actually, just at this point, I'm going to play my flashback token. So we're going to flash back to several weeks earlier. The agent of this corporation is meeting with with an ambassador from one of the major powers. Which power would we like it to be? Okay, Imperial. So this particular corporate agent has met with Imperial representatives. These Imperial representatives impressed upon him that basically results were coming too slowly, that his research into this new thing that they've asked him to create and grow and encourage and breed has not been going fast enough, and that he needs to really, get his finger out. The Imperial representative implied that if the project wasn't successful, rather than let there be evidence lying around of an unsuccessful Imperial experiment, they would just bomb the site. From orbit, nuke it from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. Okay, so that's my flashback. Did you get that? I was writing furiously over there. Thank you very much.
I've got the corporate agent meets with the Imperial representative, and the Imperial representative says that it's going too slow, but there's authorization to bomb the site from orbit if it all goes wrong.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Awesome. Sounds good. Okay. So that was your question. I've got a couple more questions. So I'm going to... Okay. So Stain, I'm going to sort of ask, because I've got this potential route through to escape, I'm going to be asking if there are any dangers or complications on the route to the ship. Aha. We've got ourselves a Mr. Dusty. We've got mushrooms. We've got... Okay, so I'm gonna kind of pick out some things here. I'm gonna say that there is, because of spores, I'm gonna say that there's some sort of security gas that is designed to make certain sections impassable. The security robots have been instructed not to let anybody leave the site. Because you've got this crown here, I'll say that this is all kind of under the orders of the corporate agent who's trying to make sure nobody leaves. So yes, there is a route, but it is defended. Is that awesome?
So I'm going to ask what's happening now with this biological agent. What's its current status? How is it changing? I guess is the these security alerts, but what's going on? What's dynamic about it? So we have a whip, we have a bag, we have a lever, we have a hatch, we have what looks like a mirror or maybe a baby's toy, and a sheriff's badge. So it seems like with the... Do you want to put that in the front of the camera? Seems like it's perhaps a touch of violence there, but also covering the exits. So there's biological material growing over the exits, and it's causing burns or something. Like if people try and go near it, it's actually physically somehow attacking them.
Little rules clarification. Nothing to do with what you've done. I'm just this scene always confuses me how it wraps up. Okay, yes, you've basically done you've done the thing. You've summarised what's going on, which is fine. So there is basically we are at a point where there is a way out, but it is defended, and there is the biological containment growing over it, and the authorities have essentially authorised this happening. So that is our plot thickens. Okay, and heroic undertaking, part 3. What have we got? We have got a new location. We also have possibly a new threat, possibly an old threat. Now, I don't know if you can see this. You can just about see that on that threat symbol, within the box, there is a yellow band, an orange band, and a grey band. What that yellow band indicates you can do is that if earlier in the game you have a die that is already sat in a box of that colour, you can move it. So if we want to move the die representing the containment, we can now say that the containment is still the threat in this scene. Okay. The location is a green location. It's grey inside. That means this is going to move to a brand new location. Okay. Obviously, still somewhere within the base, but things have moved on. And at this location, this particular threat is accusing, but we might have to interpret that a little bit. Us, basically, or one of us. It's basically someone is now coming and kind of making a direct bit of conflict on one of our characters. So that's where you might want to consider like whether the actual threat in the scene, whether it's a new threat that's come out of the group of survivors or something like that, or whether it's something to do with the... I mean, we can interpret accusing a little bit. It doesn't have to be exactly accusing. What do we think? Oh, well, let's roll the dice. Let's figure out what the location is first. So we've got a tower. We've got something that I think looks a bit like a sort of legal badge, maybe, possibly. Or you could turn it around and say it looks like a little fighter. Looks like a bit like a viper, doesn't it? Or there's a sort of cave. There's a snake. There's a sheriff's badge, which could represent the security station. And there is also a sort of this ruler symbol, which could represent, I suppose, the offices of someone in some sort of authority. I don't know. What do we think?
Sounds like the security offices, which are...
Yeah, I think that's good.
What for the location?
Yes.
Okay. What are we going to use for that? Are we using the sheriff's badge?
Yeah.
Lock that in. Okay. And then what do we want to do about the threat? Do we want to make it that the ongoing threat is the lingering contagion, or do we want to introduce like a person threat at this point?
Well, we know that the security systems have been compromised, so this is a new threat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Someone's in charge of the security systems and turning them against us,
okay.
maybe.
Okay.
Or potentially even automated systems.
Well, I can make a suggestion. Let's say that somebody in authority uses one. So say, I don't know, like head of security, or and because it's meant to be accusing. So should we maybe say that the person who is in charge of security is accusing us of threatening neighbouring systems by trying to leave when we've been exposed to a contagion?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they've become a thing that is now stopping us from leaving. Okay, that makes sense. So basically, our little summary to write down is that in the security office, say the head of security is accusing us of not being responsible in trying to leave the base. Yep. Awesome. So we have, in this scene, we have 2 questions and we have 4 actions that we can take to try and move it along. But this is the sort of thing where you don't necessarily have to ask the questions. We might feel that we have enough answers. And you can also alternate. We can do a couple of actions, and if they don't work, ask a couple of questions.
The question is how well are the characters working together? Are they turning in on each other, or finding a way to work together?
Okay, awesome. Roll them. We're down to 4 dice.
I have 4 dice. Get them on the tin this time. I have a planet and some sort of space gun. Is that? It's a dinosaur skull.
Head, yeah.
A wishing well. That's fun. And a snake. The wishing well looks interesting. I'm just trying to work out how I get a wishing well into an industrial moon.
I wonder if you could represent one of it, like there's 4 dice, 4 people. One of us is a snake. One of us is a dreamer. One of us is a traveller. I forget what the other symbol was.
It's a dinosaur head.
Yes.
One of us is curious, or I don't know.
I think the dinosaur head would be Thane, because I'm a relic from a former time. Do you like that?
I have. There's the wishing well there, which some water. Could we? I don't know. I'm just thinking ahead here. But could we look at? We would have access to the water, which would flow through our offices. That might flow into the security people's offices. We could maybe muck about with their water supply, maybe drug them.
Yeah, I can see where this is going, though, because Sean's character is also a pilot to do with travelling. So that really leaves the snake for Darren.
Yes.
Can't help but noticing that it does all seem to be very dark.
Look at me so suspicious, Mr. Thing.
Okay, so just because Thane is that kind of character, the head of security is being very confrontational and not letting anybody leave. Thane is just going to try and take out the security officer. Just going to try and get control of the security system by just knocking the guy out. How does that sound?
I have an idea.
Okay.
I have.
I have control of some of these systems. I can maybe get some doors jammed open, and maybe try to hack some of these automated systems to help you.
We can do that as an
Should we try that first? I've got another idea which we'll try out if yours doesn't
work. Go on then.
Try.
Well, I'm attacking the security guard. I'm attacking the security guard. So we'll see how that works out. Okay, yes. I successfully knock out the security guard with a well-placed hook. I don't know why this reaction is laughter. That's a really strange reaction to get at this point.
Because he is actually a cyborg security guard.
What?
A cyborg. And your punch does not affect him very much.
Do you know what? That is actually pretty funny. I like that. Yeah, so Thane runs up, delivers a really impressive right hook on the security guard. Really hurts. So it does work. It does incapacitate the cyborg security guard, but in doing so, Thane manages to fracture his right forearm. Presumably, the laughing is the rest of you laughing. So thank you for that. Oh, Pete Witherspoon's made it. That's right. Okay. So yeah, that was me.
I'll try an idea.
You don't have to play an idea at taking this point. You can just say, what are you trying to do?
Tina's worked with fluids quite well. She knows that certain cyborgs are much weaker on the inside than out, so she finds a convenient orifice on the cyborg, and the high-pressure plumbing that she had access to in the first part is now being applied to the cyborg while he's temporarily incapacitated. I'm trying to think of a nice word here, but she's going to try and pump him full of liquid of some sort.
Because
it would short-circuit him on the inside.
Oh, so stop him rebooting and coming back around. Okay.
Yes.
Is that an action?
That's an action, yes.
Okay.
I'll try that.
Go on, do it. See what happens. Okay, so no. So that's the worst possible result. So basically, not only does it not work, but something else terrible also happens.
My character's a doctorate in incompetence. I've got to think. The hose jerks out of the cyborg and slaps Nortina around the face, injuring her. She loses several teeth.
That is pretty harsh. Let's just see what the emotion is on that. Yeah, that seems fairly legitimate.
Lost teeth.
Yes, lost. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, lost teeth. Absolutely. Okay, so we have a couple of questions we can ask. We have one more action before we move into end game. Well, not end game. There's another revelation, but what do we think?
So now that the explosion happened, and we've been able to now move around the base a bit more, are we able to actually reach an exit? Now we have our researcher trying to turn off security systems. Can we actually reach the door?
Okay. Questions? Do you want to have a little roll for you? Okay, so you've got a whip, you've got possibly a handheld mirror or maybe a handheld magnifying glass. We have the communications array, and we have one of those, what are they called? Tory gate, which has all kinds of different meanings. But we'll just interpret it as a gateway.
So yes, I think that means we do actually reach a door that is not covered in the biological material yet.
We've found a way. Okay, so
perhaps
we've
the
located a way through.
area or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. So we've located a potential way through. Okay.
So my question is, what what the crowds of people are now doing. We've managed to knock down the security guard. We've opened up a way to the docking station. These people have been panicking and so on. There is a whip. There's a bag.
This game really wants us to use the whip. I'm getting this feeling there's somewhere...
There's a tower. So I think that they are violent and looting.
So people, so they've seen Thane punch out a robot, and that's it. Everyone's just flipped at this point.
I think they're rushing into the docking station, grabbing whatever ships they can get access to, and it has become chaos.
Absolute anarchy. Okay, so that is the last question. So we need to take some sort of action. What action are we going to try and take?
We need to get a ship for ourselves.
We're going to try and steal the ship.
Yeah.
Okay. So as a group, we are going to attempt to. We're going to try and escape by getting to a functioning craft.
One of us with a broken arm and the other with a broken jaw.
We're carrying one of them because he's unconscious.
Together we make one person. When in doubt, steal a ship.
Yep. No. we failed to steal a ship, but I'm going to have to turn to the dice for inspiration because I can't think of a but for this. But okay, well, there's a lever, there's a swirly thing, there's a king, there's a gate, but there is potentially another way out of the base. So we failed. So basically, everyone's running for the ships. They've all been taken. We're standing in basically an empty hangar now as these things all fly off into the sky. But there is another way out. Okay.
So
that was the last action. So this is the truth revealed. So this is the dark agenda. The dark agenda can be related to, we can either roll a new dark agenda, which seems a little bit complicated for Act 4, or we can reintroduce the corporate overlord threat, which is related to the head of security. Yep. Does that work? Yes. So we'll shift this one up here.
Does it? It has to be a red one, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay. Sometimes this scene kind of tells you what you already know, which is that the corporation had basically instructed the robot security to keep everybody in. So we have one question we can ask about what's happening, and then after that we have to come up with some sort of plan. How the fuck do we get out?
Brilliant. Okay, let's. Do you know what? I like that question. How the actual fuck do we get out? You're going to like this. Okay, so there's a dinosaur skull, obviously. There's a laser weapon. There is a robot, and there is a tiara.
Tiara could represent the sort of. There's a special way out. There's a VIP area. Like we went to the public docking bay, but there's actually a separate way, and that's actually the way that the corporates went out.
Right, like an ambassadorial launch or something. Okay.
Perhaps we could steal the corporate guy's ship. If he's coming with a ship, we could nick it off him.
Yeah, I was going to say, if there's guns, I say we shoot our way out.
Yeah, and that's Thane's way, always.
If I can throw an idea in the mix.
Okay, go for it.
It's on the other side of the biological mess.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Brilliant. Okay, so that is our truth revealed. So the final showdown. Okay, so I'm going to say then that the way to this other thing, because this is a blue location and it's linked to the previous one, basically we have to go back through the contaminated lab. Yep. Does that sound legitimate?
It does indeed, yeah.
Like that.
So back through so there are double threats in here. We've basically got, it's basically all about the yellows. I mean, I'm going to say that it makes sense for at least one of those to be the biological threat.
Yeah,
so we can reintroduce that from earlier.
And maybe we should roll the dice to find some way in which that has gotten worse.
Well, actually, this scene does help with that. There's an icon, which I'll explain in just a moment.
Oh, okay.
But there's also another threat. So we've basically got a choice, really, between reintroducing the corporate superiors or the robot head of security. Has he come back Terminator style?
We're actually going through the office.
We're going back through.
So we're actually going through the corporate. The corporate guy will be there because it's his ship we want to take.
Okay. Or what the corporate overlord or the head of security?
Yes, because we've got to get
corporate overlord. Okay. Yeah. So in this particular scene, so this is a thing to sort of write down a phrase. So back in the contaminated security research facility, a combination of the biological threat and the corporate overlords have basically captured us. If we've tried to go through, they've sealed us in.
I mean, can I suggest another element? There was the flashback earlier to the bombing of the station should things go wrong. So perhaps...
the clock is ticking.
Yes.
Okay. Right then, so actions. Well, I mean, okay, first things first, Thane is going to try and find a way to tackle the biological thing that's spreading all over everywhere by trying to locate a better supply of arms / flamethrower / suppression system / anything. That's what I'm going to try and do. Watch me pull a red card. There we go. There are no additional weapons in the laboratory area. That's just a straight up no. Yeah, that is the face that Thane makes when he discovers there are no additional weapons or containment facilities.
Nortina has an idea. I wrote this down. She's got great ability to orient herself in 3 dimensions, including fighting. So she has an idea for stripping out the lighting in the entire base, which, through hacking or something like that. She has the ability to find herself orient herself in darkness, so she could maybe, grab hold of the other 3 people in the party, rush past the bad guy. He knows that the darkness will calm the biological gunk, and they'll be able to get onto the bad guy's ship.
Okay,
that's the plot.
That seems like a plan.
Yeah. So,
are you going to attempt an action?
I will attempt an action.
What's the action?
To muck about with the lighting, hopefully switch it off, then grab everyone else and lead them to the enemy ship.
Okay.
Is that?
Yeah, try it. Yes. However,
one of us has got to die.
Somebody is angry.
I'm angry.
Okay. Darren is angry.
So I stumble in the dark. I fall over. I lose my computer that I was holding many corporate secrets on, and I'm very angry. And so I pretend that so I shout out, "Help! Stop! I need to go back."
Is this an action? Are you trying to convince everybody to stop and go back?
Yes.
Okay. So Darren is attempting to stop and convince everybody to go back.
I do not think it's good.
Nope.
Oh, and
so it's bad, and something else bad happens.
And they leave me behind.
Oh, this one always comes out at a really weird moment.
Yeah.
No, and someone you really don't like suddenly professes their passionate love for you.
The biological substance knows me well from the lab, from many experiments. Decides to embrace me.
Yes.
This is your fantastic voyage ending. Yes. Yeah. So the creature contamination, whatever it is, just kind of envelops Darren as he's reaching around for his lost laptop. And the last we see of him is he's disappearing into this oozing mass. Does that seem legitimate? Awesome. Okay. 3 actions to get off this godforsaken planet. Yeah.
The other 3 managed to, weeping for our lost comrade, we rush into try and rush into the departing spaceship and whiz off to safety.
Well, we haven't quite got to departing spaceship. Okay, so first things first, Thane is going to, having not found any better solutions, just going to start opening up on the creature with his sidearm, which obviously he's got on him, just starts shooting at it. No, and just makes it angrier. Like the energy from the laser weapon that Thane is firing actually just seems to give the creature more energy. And as he shoots into it, it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Or potentially you shoot something else that was missing. Yeah.
That's an unfortunate card. Thane looks sufficiently sheepish that he has done this. Yeah, I'm shooting away. Maybe I've hit a water main or something, and the room that we're sealed in just starts filling up.
Okay, so my pilot decides we've tried putting pressure on it, we've tried turning the lights out, none of these things. So maybe a vacuum is going to be fatal for it. So we actually are going to put on spacesuits. Can we find spacesuits?
Okay, so we're looking for spacesuits so that
yes.
we can breach the facility. Let's find out. No. This is what happens when all of your early cards were positive.
Can I modify that with that, or
No, that's just a change of die, sadly. No, you can't change outcomes. Yeah, so interesting little sidebar at this point. The developers of this game have basically put a thread on Board Game Geek that says if you own this edition of the game, they will send you at their cost a replacement deck of outcome cards that are slightly better weighted in terms of success. Anyway, there you go, that's by the by. Yeah, so no, there are no spacesuits. And not only that...
but Thane's earlier shots have actually made a small hole in the outer wall.
No, because this is a no. Oh, yeah. So no,
Yes.
yeah. So no, and the air is already escaping. Yes. Brilliant. We have
Glad
one.
I'm dead.
We have one action left. This had better be a really good action. Okay. So the room's about to breach. We can't get out of it. I'm just going to roll these just for inspiration. Yeah, that's not a huge amount of inspiration. I'm going to go for something. I'm going to go for something classically Thane. So basically, Thane looks around and just says to everybody, "I really hope you're wearing your Remlock survival masks." And Thane is going to attempt to survive and escape the situation by relying entirely on Remlock rescue. How do the rest of you feel about that?
yes, never
Yeah,
would
see, that's
that.
the kind of stupid thing he'd do, yes. Yeah.
Oh, you're already dead. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm beyond Remlocks.
Yeah.
Okay, let's find out what happens. Yay! Okay, so this is where this story telling system becomes really interesting. So we have succeeded. So basically, the lab has breached. Vacuum has been created. Everybody's been sucked out of the facility. Possibly like it's a low gravity moon, so the propulsion, we're all kind of floating up in the air. The creature has either been contained or frankly isn't our problem anymore. However, we do get Remlock rescued. We get Remlock rescued by the people who didn't want us to leave the base. And that is the end of the episode.
Yeah.
End of episode 1. There you go. Okay, so I hope you all enjoyed that. So what would happen normally at the end of this particular thing? Where did I write down the actual story? Where's the story pad? What have I done with it? It's a pad of paper. How can I lose that? No, because it's like a thick pad. Oh, gah.
Episode 2, The Missing Pad.
I put it in the lid of the box. Of course I did. Right. So these are the sorts of interesting questions that this game brings up if you're planning on running this as a continuing series. What impact does this episode have on the overall series?
Downer, but things going badly. So.
Cliffhanger.
Well, it's got a cliffhanger. We've introduced a wider threat with the corporation.
We've reduced the actor's salary by 1.
Not necessarily. There's the opportunity for a new villain to come back. Perhaps morphed with some Xeno creature.
Fed the creature.
Accent from 3 other places in the world.
Yeah.
Agenda. Okay, so what are the loose ends and plot hooks for future episodes?
Pad's not big enough.
Yeah. So who was Darren working for?
What were the corporate overlords attempting to do?
Captured. Yeah, I've got to put captured as well, and overlord plot. I'll put. That's enough. That's enough to keep the story going. And then on the back, whoop, whoop, whoop. This is where it's really useful that we have a scribe going on over here. So we have characters of interest, obviously excluding the player characters. So which other people came up that are significant in that story that potentially would refer back to? So we've obviously got the corporate overlord. We've got the head of security robot.
amorous xenomorph.
Yeah, amorous xenomorph, nice.
Yes.
And potentially rioting survivors. Or they might not be survivors. Who knows?
They could even be infected with some new thing that they're now spreading out.
Oh, yeah, because they all left, didn't they?
Yeah, they
all left,
disobeyed
okay.
the containment procedures.
Yeah. Okay, items of interest. I'm not sure any of those made it away because you're normally it would be something like your briefcase full of secrets. I'm pretty sure that's all contained up in the... I suppose the secrets on the base would be items of interest. I don't really think there's anything... Well, the xenomorph itself, the contagion itself.
How about Dr. Marco's laptop?
It's on the base somewhere, yeah. So put a lost laptop. We'll put it. Who knows? Someone might decide to go back into the deserted base to find it. Places of interest. We've got the infected lab, security office, and the rescue ship. And then other, just anything else you want to write down. But I think that's pretty much captured it. So there you go. So that is essentially how the system works. Now, I would say, as a creator of Escape Velocity, like for me, what just happened is a perfectly acceptable structure. I could go away and turn that into a script, like really easily. I might still do. Who knows? Who knows what will happen? But yeah, so that was... do you know what? I really apologise. I don't know how to wrap this up. That is the end.
Will Commander Thane and his colleagues get away alive?
Tune in next
What
week.
was the secret corporate action taking place on the moon? Will the bombing start whilst they're being rescued? How will they escape? Join us next time on episode 2 of Escape Velocity Special Edition.
Yeah, rock and roll. Okay, brilliant. Hope you enjoyed that. I'm around this weekend. I have this game in my bag. If anybody wants to give it a try, feel free. You don't have to do Escape Velocity related stories. For anybody who wants to pursue it with other story dice, they do actually have licensed dice. So I now have, since UK Games Expo, I'm the proud owner of Doctor Who, Batman, and Scooby-Doo dice.
Can you mix them up?
Yes.
That would be so good. Batman plus Scooby-Doo would be fantastic.
What's really weird is you can buy a DVD of Batman meets Scooby-Doo, which must be the weirdest crossover in animated history. I still haven't seen it. I don't know why I still haven't seen it, but I do need to see it. Anyway, there we go. Thank you all very much for coming. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you again later, and we will hand over to whatever is coming next.
Thank you.